Welcome, welcome back to Crafting a Meaningful Life. Your meaningful life, my meaningful life. That's why we do this every single week, and we do it together because we're committed to getting to the end of the life and saying, damn, that was a well-lived life. Not like, oh, I missed out. I think the worst of the human emotions, well, maybe not the worst. I think the worst is probably shame, but the second worst is regret. And that's not what we're going to be about. We're about crafting what we want in our lives. Most of you who watch this podcast know that one of my biggest mantras and the biggest focus of this podcast, if you would nail it down to one, it is overcoming fear and stepping into your authentic self. That concept of finding your courage, finding how to be brave. And bravery is what my guest today is absolutely about. She's written a book called The Bravery Effect, and she has researched this topic. You're not even going to believe how much she knows. So let's watch her now and welcome Jill Schulman. Welcome to the podcast.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. Just even hearing like the title of your podcast and what you just said, I'm like, we are so aligned. We are soul sisters. Everything, the whole reason I researched bravery and why fear holds people back is for that reason. I want people to look back at their lives and not feel that pain of regret, of not knowing, like, could I have done that? What could have my life have been? You know, fear just keeps us small and it prevents us. It controls our actions. And as I studied positive psychology at Penn, I just became obsessed with why can some people step forward in the presence of fear and why are some people held back by it? So like I dove into the science and now that's what I'm known for, the science of bravery. So I'm excited for this conversation.
I love that there's an actual science you call bravery. How would you define that science? I mean, like, how is it defined other than the word bravery?
Well, I'll do two things. I'll define what is a scientific study or what is a scientific definition of bravery and just what does it mean to have the science of bravery. I'd say, first of all, when people think of bravery, as I speak to audiences all around the world on this topic, what most people think of when you think of bravery is they just imagine maybe a soldier running into battle or a firefighter running into a burning building. So their definition of bravery is very narrow. It's based on physical bravery. So what people think is bravery and what people think is the way to be brave is just do it. Don't be a wimp, right? It's not accurate. The real definition of bravery, according to top bravery researchers, specifically Dr. Cynthia Puri out of the university, or Clemson University, her and her colleagues have defined bravery as it's voluntary action in the presence of fear toward a noble or worthwhile goal.
Would you repeat that one more time? Because I think that is such a great definition and it's so clarifying.
Yeah. So it is voluntary action. So we choose voluntary action in the presence of fear, not being fearless. It's about taking that voluntary action in the presence of fear toward a worthwhile or noble goal. I can just simplify it for your listeners. Being scared and doing it anyway because it matters, because it's important. That's what bravery is. And if we think about that definition, it's not just physical bravery. I mean, whatever your noble and worthwhile goal is, what are the fears that are holding you back? And usually it's not physical fear. Usually it's emotional fears, fear of rejection, fear of failure, fear of being vulnerable. So bravery is much bigger than what most people think. It's very narrow, very, very specific, but bravery is for all of us. And that's why I became obsessed and said, this is so important for everyone. And then when you say science of bravery, well, what does that mean? This is the scientific study of what people can do in order to increase their bravery. Because what I found is I think a lot of people talk about bravery and talk about courage, and there's a lot of motivational speakers, and I love all speakers out there. I'm a member of National Speakers Association. I've seen a lot of great motivational speakers. But if someone just goes up and says, be brave, don't be a wimp, it doesn't help people go back and actually do it. So I studied psychology, specifically positive psychology, which is the scientific study of elevating your happiness and well-being. There's a study of that as well. And so what I bring to my audiences and my clients is evidence-based techniques based on psychology drawn from cognitive psychology, from behavioral psychology, and social psychology. So these are the things, when I say evidence-based, if you do the things I tell you to do, I have no doubt that you will be able to build your bravery over time. And it's certain because there's scientific studies that prove it. So that's where, when I say the science of bravery, we got to define it correctly. And the scientific study is, I'm not going to just tell you what I think you should do to be brave. I could say, I'm a former Marine, which I am. I'm a former Marine. To be brave, do this. It doesn't matter what I think. I go to the evidence.
So as we were sitting outside this morning and having this coffee, I pulled up your website and I was showing him, and the quote on this website from you says, everything. So you didn't say most things or some things. You said everything. Everything you really want in life requires bravery. And I just stopped and I looked over.
What did he say? What did he say? It's provocative.
I said, do you think that's accurate? And he thought for a while, and pretty soon he said, I do, Mary. He said, do you remember just 6 months ago when we were in Puerto Vallarta and you wanted to do one of these extreme adventures that include rappelling and zip lining and water sliding and riding mules up the side of the mountain? And I'm like, damn, I want to go with her. I don't want to be a wimp. But I'm going to have to overcome some fears I've always had. He's been he's an athlete from the word go. So it doesn't mean anything for him to go into a game of doing something. He's a tennis player. He's a golfer. He plays baseball, even at this age. And he said, but to do that, I had to dig deep and say, I'm going to choose bravery. And I thought about that everything that's worth going after requires bravery.
Yeah, it does.
How do you give the model for people then to do it?
Well, usually what I do to kind of prove that statement is I just ask people. So I want to ask you this question and your audience to think of this question. Think about your most proud accomplishment in life. This is one of that most proud accomplishment is that thing that you really, really wanted. So I want you to think back, and what is that thing? And then I ask the next question, which I will, so you've got that in your mind. Was it hard? Were there challenges? Or was it really easy? Was it just handed to you on a silver platter and it was the best thing ever? Or the best moments in life, was it preceded by challenges, adversity, or a hard path? And then everyone in the audience has got their hands up, nodding, going, yes, it was. So I can say, let's look at just the audience. Everyone with their hands up. Everyone said the best moments of my life were on the other side of hard. So you can help people understand why that is. Even things like, I get some pushback like, well, how about like I met the woman of my life and, of my dreams, and I have a great marriage and it's one of the best things in the world. And I say, well, if it's just easy, or let me back up a little bit. In order to have the very best marriage, we still have to work at it. It's sometimes really hard to have the very best marriage. If you stop trying, then sometimes the very best marriage and the best person, the marriage can fall apart, right? So everything, the best things, they require effort, and sometimes they're hard, but they're so worth it, right? And I want to tie this to a little bit of evidence in positive psychology, because I want to make sure everything I say, I always have to back with science. So let me just do that for a moment.
Okay.
So in the field of positive psychology, so again, positive psychology is a scientific study of elevating happiness and well-being. So think of me as a happiness scientist. So according to Dr. Marty Seligman, who is the founder of positive psychology at Penn, I studied under him. What he found is, and he had research that really looked into what are the main factors that contribute to elevating happiness and well-being. And he came up with this acronym. And it's PERMA. It's PERMA. And I'm going to end with A because that's where bravery comes in. So P stands for positive emotion. So we do want to experience positive emotions like happiness, joy, awe, etc., gratitude. So that is an important element of happiness and well-being. But it's only 1/5. A lot of people mistakenly think that the only key to happiness and well-being is just smiling and laughing all day. It is, positive emotions are important, but it's only 1/5. And then the E in PERMA stands for engagement or flow state. That's all of Mihail Csikszentmihalyi's research on flow. Then the R in PERMA is relationships. The M in PERMA is having a life of meaning. And the A in PERMA is accomplishment. So based on this scientific study of all the things that contribute us to happiness and well-being, it's accomplishing challenging things as a driver. And when people can't accomplish things that they really want, it can detract from their happiness and well-being. So, and in my field of positive psychology, like I feel like the A in PERMA, the accomplishment, doesn't get enough attention. In fact, sometimes, at conferences with positive psychology, there seems to be a feeling like, oh, we don't want to talk about accomplishment. Do we really want to talk about accomplishment? We want to talk about just relationships and meaning and positivity and all these things. But accomplishment is absolutely an avenue to elevating our happiness and well-being. And in that specific way of achieving higher levels of happiness and well-being, it has to be challenging and it's going to have that hard path. So in that way, there's my scientific proof, I guess, or my scientific research that really backs up the claim is usually the very best things in life are on the other side of hard. And then to add to it, I feel like our current culture is just obsessed with wanting everything to be comfortable and easy, and that's going to bring them happiness. I mean, there's some psychologists that have talked about this culture of comfort or even coddling, and how that is the reason why we have the highest levels of anxiety and depression ever. Because when people just stay comfortable all the time and they stop, trying to challenge themselves, it leads to a lower mental state. So I want to help the world understand that I want you to identify something you really want that's a little scary in the best possible way, something you've always wanted to do, but oh my gosh, it's so scary to do it. And I want people to move toward it because that is one of the keys to living your best life, right? Crafting a meaningful life, which is, what your podcast is all about. And when you set a goal for something that's really challenging, that was going to be hard, you can actually get, as I go back to the PERMA model, like if you're trying to accomplish something really hard, but you make sure it's meaningful, that's the M in PERMA. You're going to do it along with other people to form relationships. You're going to get into that flow state and you want to try to generate positive emotions as you're trying to accomplish it. So you can get all 5 elements of PERMA when you set the challenging goals. That's what I teach.
I love all of that. When you were thinking about, you asked me that question, my first thought was, it was when I summited Kilimanjaro for a woman who had never hiked in her life, and for a woman who never owned a gym membership or had walked around the block even. And so that kind of a goal. But then I thought back and I realized that was a single accomplishment. But it was actually at age 50, the mindset change that when I decided this was no longer going to be my life. And I went through this health and wellness change. I divorced my husband. I started a new path. But it wasn't an overnight thing. I mean, we're talking here a 6, 7, 8 year process. Of keeping focused on a goal and actually being able to every day have to choose bravery.
Yeah. I love that you said every day too, because bravery doesn't happen in these miracle moments. I mean, there are moments where a child falls into a river and someone jumps in and there's kind of that moment. They don't even think, they just act. But what I like to talk about is exactly what your story is, of how you decide that my current life isn't the life that I want to live. I want something more. I want to accomplish something different. And then bravery happens every day. So I use the analogy of building a muscle when it comes to building bravery. It doesn't happen like overnight in just one moment. You have to work on it. It's like building a muscle. If you want to bench 200 pounds, you don't go into the gym and magically you're able to bench 200 pounds.
At least without a spotter right there. Or you're
You got to go in and you got to lift what you can.
Yeah.
And it should be uncomfortable and hurt a little. And then you're going to be a little sore. But what happens? You build the strength and you go back and you keep doing it over and over again. The same thing actually happens with bravery. You build bravery little by little, right? So for anyone out there that thinks, I'm just not a brave person. This episode isn't for me. I want everyone to know that this episode is for you, because anyone can learn to be brave. Anyone can. When you take that little step forward, doing something that makes you a little uncomfortable, right? You're working out that bravery muscle. And what I'm talking about is like literally in your brain, right? When you do something that's hard, that's uncomfortable, that's scary, there's different parts of your brain that get a little workout and has to change. It's called brain plasticity. There's a part of the brain, the ACC, which is like the bravery part of the brain. You've got your prefrontal cortex that is overriding your amygdala, which is telling you, fear, don't do it, just stay comfortable. Like, so when you do that, your brain goes, oh, wow, this person just made me do something that kind of gave my brain a workout. That was something new. That was hard. Mm-hmm. And you do it again, you do it again. And then you start creating new neural pathways. You actually get some cortical thickening in your prefrontal cortex. Like literally you're changing your brain over time, and you build that bravery over time, just like you build a muscle in a gym. So it's fascinating how when you look at the science, anyone can be brave. They got to put in the work, the consistent work like you did, everyday bravery.
You know, what came to my mind as you were talking, Jill, was, so we're sitting here on this podcast and we're doing this, both of us. I'm much older than you, but you're, obviously a mature woman. You're not in your 20s or 30s. You mentioned that you had children that were going back to college. And we have lived life. Mm-hmm. So we lived life from a point where we could say, I was at point A, but then I allowed myself and I pushed myself to get to point B. Mm-hmm. And now I'm at C. So I'm going to ask a very personal question then.
Sure.
Get ready. So what in Jill's life was at point A that allowed you to move to point B, that then inspired you to be at point C?
Yeah. I'll tell you a little bit about my story, but I think every time I take a leap from A to B, B to C, C to, like, those are all the moments that are the best moments. So my life journey started in the Midwest. I grew up in a little town in Minnesota. And
I'm from Iowa. So
you're from Iowa.
Yeah.
In common.
I get that.
Grew up in Minnesota and lived in a little small town. And a lot of people got a job and lived in the same small town forever.
Yep.
And based on my parents' example, I had great parents, a loving home, but they just weren't really inspired by their work. They went to work because they had to earn a paycheck, right? And I just felt like if I stayed in Minnesota, I would have that life. And I'm not judging anyone who has that life. A lot of people are very happy with that. Yeah. But I wanted something different. So that's why I decided to join the Marine Corps so that I could do something meaningful, which was a scary leap to get to be. So I actually applied for a full ride scholarship to go to college first. So I was lucky enough to get a full ride on the Marine Corps to go to college first and then come out as an officer. But so my A to B was literally getting on a plane, heading to San Diego, California, and reporting into my unit, which is at the University of San Diego. And that was not an easy path. I've got so many stories of how I had to show up every day and be brave, because it was quite a journey to earn the title of United States Marine, but I got through it.
Absolutely. I mean, everyone knows the Marines are the bravest.
The few, the proud. Now, my Navy SEAL friends are like, come on, Jill. I'm like, okay, you guys have it there, but out of the four branches, we do have a reputation of being the few, the proud, right? And that's why I wanted to join the Marine Corps. So I served in the Marine Corps for 5 years. And then, so think that is my B. And then I had met the love of my life, my current husband. He was the first non-Marine I ever dated. and he's the one I fell in love with. And I decided that I wanted to get to C, which is I wanted to be home. I wanted to start a family. And I decided that the military life, you can definitely do it, but it's challenging, moving around and deploying. And my husband and I were engaged a year and a half, and I was gone for a year of it, and it was hard. And I'm like, so B to C was taking a leap and going to corporate America, which, believe it or not, that was a really scary move. Like, everyone I hung out with in college were Marines, and then I was in the Marine Corps. So when you saw business suits, you're kind of scared. So for me, I had to take a leap to go to corporate America. But I did really well. I ended up interviewing with a company where the hiring manager who I first worked for was a Marine. So that was a good transition for me. He was a former Marine. So I was like, okay, this is going to be great. So I went in the pharmaceutical industry and had an amazing career. I worked in pharma, biotech, and then I went to a device company. So I had this great career. So think of this as C. But then I had a moment where I realized the life I had wasn't the life I wanted. And it really happened when I went to pick up my daughter from kindergarten. And I travel all the time. I'm career oriented. I'm always gone. I picked her up. I surprised her because I caught an earlier flight and I was home, and I picked her up from kindergarten on a Friday. And she's like, oh, mommy, look at the picture I drew of my family.
Oh, boy.
I wasn't in the picture. That was a moment where you're like, okay, this is a beautiful moment. I look back at this as a beautiful moment because it was my wake up call. I needed something different. So C to D was, I need to do something different. So that's when I decided to start my own company, a brave leap there, so I could control how much time I travel. Now, I must say, it wasn't just the job. I tend to work a lot because I love the work that I do. So I'm always trying to balance things there. But so that's D. And like, after having my own company for 8 years, I want to talk about just when you get comfortable. So I had been comfortable, a leadership development company, working with amazing clients, me delivering leadership development classes that made a huge impact on leaders and results and all that. But after doing it for 8 years, I was just getting comfortable, and I wanted the next stretch. And I loved reading and growing and doing all of that. So I decided to go back to school and study how do you elevate your well-being. So I just went back to, I'm 51 now. I think I was 47 years old when I applied. Can't remember the exact dates here, but I mean, I graduated from University of Pennsylvania, master's in applied positive psychology, like just a couple of years ago. And that was a stretch I needed. And then that made me realize, like, now I want to do something different and more. So when you go through a master's program, you do a capstone. And that's where I became so interested in fear and why fear. And then I started getting into bravery. And now I'm going for, I don't know what letter I'm on, but now I'm like, I want the next thing. So you guys, writing a book, speaking on the biggest stages, I'm doing a TEDx coming up. Like, this is all stuff that scares me in the best possible way. But for me to live my best life, I have to keep climbing the mountain. I have to keep finding the next summit. And it's really not about accomplishing the thing. It is about accomplishing the thing, but it's more about who you become on the journey. Like, think about you. Was it really about Mount Kilimanjaro, or was it really about who you became on the journey?
Yeah.
What was more important?
It wasn't about standing on the summit. Mm-hmm. That was, you're up there 10 minutes.
Yeah.
I trained for 6 months to be able to stand up there for 10 minutes. It was about the journey.
It's the journey. And let me ask you this, Mary. People probably know your story, but how did you feel differently about yourself going through that journey and finally accomplishing it?
Yeah. I definitely gained that bravery feeling. Like, now when people in Utah think of Mary Crafts, they think of, wow, she is the bravest woman I know. Mm. Whereas before, that was never anything that was associated with me. Yeah. And probably one of my biggest lessons on Kili was this concept of that they say poly as they go up the mountain. And it's one step at a time. That's what it means. One foot in front of the other.
Just do one, yeah.
And those moments when you feel like you can't go on, or I would say, can a helicopter get up here? Do I have to go on? Can I just like get off the mountain, stop the train? I want to get off here, you know? And they're like, yes, a train can come up, a helicopter can get here. Mm-hmm. Is that what you choose?
Ooh.
And I had to stop and think for a moment of all the journey that led to that point. And now, do I want to give up?
Mm-hmm.
And then I'd say, no, I was just asking, just curious, but I choose to stay. But I probably did that 3 or 4 times on that final summit day. Can a helicopter get here?
You know, I want to dive into that. This is so fascinating. I love it. So what I'm seeing, Mary, is you see yourself now as a brave person. Taking steps each day is what you made you feel like, look at what I accomplished. You look in the mirror with pride. Your shoulders go back. You have more confidence. You know, so that's what I love. The reason why the book is called The Bravery Effect is I love talking about the effect of bravery. So you chose to take, remember the definition, voluntary action in the presence of fear or discomfort toward a worthwhile goal. So in all those little moments, one by one, pulley, you had to decide, do I decide to step back or do I decide to be brave and step forward? And you kept choosing to take that step forward, which is the definition of bravery. And each step that you were brave got you to that accomplishment, and that changes really your identity. Yes. And I think the reason why this is so important is I think a lot of people, they have a fine life. Their life is fine. Like they've got a job, they've got a family. Like, my job's fine. Like it's not my dream job, but it's fine, and the family's fine. And this is where I get kind of sad for people. I'm like, if you want to stay fine, then stay fine. But if you want to live an absolutely exhilarating best life, the best life ever, if you're interested in that, you're going to have to move, as you say, from your B to your C. And you got to decide what that is, and you need to go for it. When you think about the scientific study of happiness and well-being, you know, positive psychology, it's not talking about people who are depressed or anxious and or schizophrenic and getting them from not being miserable. Positive psychology is taking people who have an okay life, but get them to an extraordinary life.
Yeah.
And that is what requires bravery. You got to figure out, well, what is it that I want? And it's going to take bravery. And I love your example in the moment up the mountain, because I use this with my audiences, and I purposely am a little bit provocative here, so I will be with your audience too. Like in those moments, you have a choice. Your choice is to be brave, and you already know the definition of bravery, voluntary action in the presence of fear or discomfort toward that worthwhile or noble goal that you already said that you really want. Yeah. The opposite, instead of stepping forward and being brave, is what? If we take a step back or we run away, what is that?
Yeah.
It's cowering. I'm not calling someone a coward. I'm saying the action, though, when you run away from fear that holds you back from doing what you really want, that is stepping back or cowering. And when you think of it that way, for you said, I don't want to give up. You're like, I do want the plane or the helicopter to come get me or the train to come get me. I really do want that. But then you thought, well, but what is the opposite? It's giving up. And I don't want to give up. So sometimes when we put it in those terms, it motivates people to keep going. So you are what you consistently do. So I talk about everyday bravery like you. It doesn't happen in a moment. Like each day you got to take those steps toward what you want, whether you feel like it or not. So some people think that, oh, I should feel motivated and inspired every moment of every day to do the things on the way to my goal. That is not true. Motivation is overrated.
Yeah.
You got to get up some days and you don't want to do it. Like this morning, I got up, I had to be on at 6 a.m. California time for a client in Chicago. And I hired a new trainer, and I'm paying him a lot of money to give me a plan. And I had to get up at 4:30 in the morning to get my workout in and to eat the right things, right? And when that alarm went off, I had to make a decision. Do I get up and do the uncomfortable, hard thing? Or do I press snooze or reset my alarm and cower, right? So it's in all those like little moments, we have those choices, and it adds up over time. As you talk about the Bravery Effect, I'm gonna stop talking because I'm sure you got more questions, but I get excited about the next idea.
No, I love it.
Think about someone's life trajectory and their happiness and well-being. If in every moment they have that little choice, ooh, I want to go meet this person, I want to go talk to this person, but you're at an event, a networking event, and you're like, oh gosh, they're not going to want to talk to me. I'm scared to go up to them, right? So you miss an opportunity to connect with someone. And then the next day you're at work and you have this great idea on an idea to solve the problem. You want to speak up, but you shrink back and go, I'm afraid of being rejected. And then a couple days later, there is a really tough conversation that you should have with an important loved one, be it a best friend or a family member. And you need to have the discussion, and you're planning on doing it. And the time comes up and you're like, I don't want to be uncomfortable. I'm scared of how it might turn out. I'm fearful of it, so you don't have the conversation. And I could go on and on and on. So every day there's these little opportunities. Do you take that voluntary action in the presence of fear, discomfort toward the worthwhile goal, or do you step back and then think about the compounding effect of that decision over time on someone's career? I usually speak to corporations. We talk about how overcoming fear or bravery can help us accomplish goals and drive the bottom line. So if we just think from a professional point of view, how someone's career would be if they consistently cowered and these are the people that are at work that are like, I'm bored, I just have a job.
Another day, another dollar.
It's another day and I hate my work. Well, I have to say, you got to look in the mirror and like, you are part of the problem, right? You're not being brave. You're not stepping forward. Someone can take control of their career, and their career trajectory can be very steep and high and go up if they choose to be brave. It can be very flat. And then just as you talk about in your life, like if you want to craft a meaningful life, you want a highest level of life satisfaction, you've got to, in all those moments, make the brave move. Don't cower, because your life satisfaction, you talked about regret and the pain of regret. If you want to look back on life and say, wow, I had the most amazing life, it requires bravery consistently. So that's why I care so much about it.
I love that, Jill. When I think about in my career, in the beginning part of my career, it was all about based on ego. I found myself doing brave things, but it was because of ego. Because my ego said, well, you will be the best, you will be the largest, you will be this, you will have these clients, because that says, then that makes me better than being less than. And that ego-based kind of bravery is not really bravery, because in another situation you realize I had not built the foundation for bravery. And I dealt with it over and over and over and over. I mean, almost on a daily basis. And finally, when I flipped the switch to having bravery not about satisfying my ego, but stepping into my authentic self.
Yes.
And allowing that bravery to build, then it wasn't every day I had to face the same lions.
Yeah.
That every single day I was starting at a different point and building more and more and more. Yeah. So I think that it's a critical thing that as we look at this,
I love that distinction,
bravery,
and it's such an important one.
It is a big distinction.
So we have to think about what is the goal, because what I say is a worthwhile or noble goal. Like, if the goal is to make a ton of money, to look like the richest guy in the neighborhood, to just get the position at the top so I will look like I'm powerful, those are not noble goals. Yeah. We should be making sure that the goals that we set are self-concordant goals. Like, let me give you an example of a brave goal that that I think takes tremendous bravery. Maybe someone has a job with a huge fancy title, right? And on the outside, they look like they're super successful, but maybe their marriage and their family is suffering. That person might be really brave to leave that job.
Yep.
And do something different. That is taking that brave step toward what you really want, where you're prioritizing, your marriage, your family well-being, and you're going to find a career that's going to fit with that.
Yep.
So not just climbing the corporate ladder, it's got to be that self-concordant, which you say, it's stepping into your true self. So we've got to make sure that we're doing the goal-setting process, that they are self-concordant. They're the goals that are not ego-driven, that they are the meaningful things, as you say, meaningful life, the right things. So I'm so glad you brought that up. Yeah.
Well, Jill, it has been absolutely delightful to have you on. And so at the end of the podcast, we've included the links of where to buy her book on Amazon, and her website, and her LinkedIn profile, and all those things you can connect with Jill, and your Bravery Effect. I love that word effect is so powerful because, and look, you've used a mountain.
I've used the mountain. Yeah.
And that could absolutely be Kili, because Kili is a single mountain. It's not in a range. It's not in a mountain range. And so it's a single mountain. And so you have nothing distracting you other than
that mountaintop. Yeah. Well, and if people do choose to buy the book, a couple things is what we didn't talk about is how. So in the book, there's strategies on how do you build what I call the warrior mindset or the brave mindset. So it's cognitive psychology strategies. Number 2, behavioral psychology strategies to take a step on shaky knees. And then social psychology strategies on how to surround yourself with people that will encourage you. So, and it's all written as a parable. So it is, in fact, it says it's like a parable teaching the science of conquering fear, achieving more, and living life to the fullest. So I love parables. Like I love, so many business parables. So I just want it to be, it's very informational, backed by science, but also like an easy, fun read for anyone. So thank you so much for having me on. And just something for your guests as well. If anyone wants a free bravery assessment, they can just go to my website. It's just jillschulman.com. And it allows them to really assess, like, where do I really need the most work? Do I need to do more of these cognitive, psychology exercises? Is it the mindset that I really need to work on? Is it the behavioral side? Is it the social side? So I have a free assessment and a free brave action item if anyone goes to my website. So just something free for your listeners. And
don't be afraid to take it. No one's going to be judging you, grading this. This is just so that you can have a mark that says, this is where I am today.
Yes.
And either I am very comfortable with that, or I know that there's more for me to step into.
Yeah.
And at this age in life, Jill, I'm not done. I know that there are still more things that I will step into. They may be different things. As you retire, will my money last, especially with inflation? And they might be different things I'm being brave about. They might be, what happens when I'm no longer as visible and as perceived important as I am now? How do I sit with just myself? There are whole bunches of different things as you age that take bravery to step into. So no matter what age you are in life, you might as well find out where you are and take this assessment. I love it. I'm going to take the assessment. Yeah.
Great. All right. Well, fantastic discussion. I have met another soul sister. Like, we're speaking the same language. We're teaching the same things. We just have a little bit of a different angle on how we do it, but it's the exact same thing. Like, what we both care about is we just want people to live their best life. And you can't just stay in a rut, keep doing the same things if your life is just or okay. Yeah. So choose to have an extraordinary life. You can do it. It's going to require bravery, but you can do it. And with listening to you and what I have in the book, I mean, it gives people a path to get there. So thanks for having me.
It does. It's a path to get there, and not settle. I love this, Jill. And when you come to Utah, let's see each other.
I will. I will text you, and I would love to go on a hike with you. I don't know if I'm going to be able to keep up, but I'm not scared. I'll be
Oh,
brave.
honey, no. We're talking. There's over 20 years difference between us, so you'll have no problem keeping up.
One thing is Utah is one of my favorite places on earth. I love Utah for so many reasons. Like Zion is my favorite national park.
Yep.
Most national parks I don't go to a second time. I check it off a list, but Zion is one that I keep going to. Angels Landing, Narrows, all of those.
Yeah.
Like, it is my happy place. So I will be back to Utah a lot, and I will text you because I know someone who is not scared to climb those things with me.
Yep, and if we really are brave, we'll ask Jen Drummond to come with us, who's climbed the 7 summits. And then we would be really challenged.
Yeah, that's okay. I'm ready. We'll just say we step by step here. Well, we're going to take a step with you, but we're not going to climb.
Poly.
One step at a time. Yeah.
All right, my friend, thank you so much for joining us today and teaching us about crafting a meaningful life. And until next time, my dear listeners, namaste. I see the divine in you.
Crafting a meaningful life.